And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And folks, it's All Out Wednesday, and we got something to discuss. First, we're going to talk about President Trump's speech claiming election fraud. Also, we're going to dip into the boycott of Asian businesses and some other things. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And first, let me give all praises to Yahuwah and Yahusha. That's God and Christ in Hebrew. To the American people and patriots across this country, when our forefathers founded the country and instituted the Constitution, it was about the American people. And what we found now that the Constitution, the living document that has controlled our laws here in this country, is being used and abused by politicians who now want to destroy this country. And what I mean by that, it's a shame that we have to be here as Americans, as we have to continue to fight for our own resources. The Democratic Party has allowed the borders to be open. They've allowed illegals to come here. And a lot of the illegals are so brazen about what they're doing. They disrespect our country. They disrespect our citizens. And they act like we owe them something, and yet they're here illegally. So to the American people and patriots across this country, it's time that the American people stand up for what is right and reclaim our nation away from those who don't care about this country and just use it for its resources. And it's saying that, let me get my crew in. What's up, Mr. Binky?
Howdy.
Hey, Randy, how's it going?
Ciao.
Listen, guys, the president's speech the other day, it was sort of, for me, it didn't hit where I wanted it to hit, but he continued to talk about how the cheating is going on with the voting registration. He talked about how the illegals are here illegally using our resources, and that the Democratic Party has continued to aid and abet these people and to continuing their illegal activities in this country. Your thoughts, Randy?
You know, what the president did was I'm not gonna say he pulled a Captain Obvious, but he highlighted what needed to be said to kind of like, I guess, bring people back to like, oh yeah, wait, this is a problem. You know, this is going on. So we need to bring this conversation back to the forefront because we are about to have elections again. And if we're just going to have the same old over and over again, then it's like, what are we doing? Like, why are we even bother with elections? We already know that there's going to be some cheating and everything else. So let's get ahead of it by mitigating now, putting it out there on Front Street. What I'm surprised at is Mikey Sherrill, a Democrat, is highlighting that she got illegals voting in her election. So this tells you that this could be actually a bipartisan issue. That, you know, hey, both sides say, you know what, yeah, there's there's cheating going on. There's illegals voting. We need to clean this up because more and more we're going to disenfranchise actually the true American voter. And now they're going to be coming after us if we continue to allow these things and not safeguard our institution that everybody should enjoy without the concern of any cheating going on. So I think it's good. We just need to stay on top of it, stay ahead of it, and actually get the Save America, the Save Act passed
Yes.
once and for all, and then hold people accountable who refuse to enforce it. Because there's going to be some people that turn the other eye, turn a blind eye, and won't do their job. So that's what we got. We got to just hold people accountable and enforce the laws.
Mr. Binky?
Yeah, well, it's just still it's a talking point,
Yeah.
And that's all. That's why Congress has got such a low rating, is because they do a lot of talking and no action.
Mhm.
They had no problem getting the times change deal passed through there. I mean, but a lot of people complain about, well, why should I vote? My vote don't count. Well, not only do we have problems with people who are voting, we have a problem with the way the Electoral College is handled too, because 48 out of 50 states have what's called a winner take all. It's based upon the state's popular vote, and whoever wins the popular vote gets all the electoral votes, and that is not how it's supposed to work. It says in the 12th Amendment that the elector will cast his vote for who they want for president, vice president. So the people in his district are telling him by their vote, this is how we want you to vote. Well, when like California and Illinois and New York, these democratically controlled states, when they want a Democrat voted, for example, I think California's got 54 districts, 54 electoral votes, I think. If 26 electoral votes were casted for a Republican, because of the popular vote, those electoral votes are now nullified. And now that tells you, and that's why people say my vote don't count.
Steve, if I may, real quick, Steve, you're actually spot on, and I'm thank you for bringing that up, seriously, because a lot of people don't know how the Electoral College work, and to your point, you're absolutely right. So I will use Texas as an example in this regard. So we have 40 electoral votes. So it's broken down by the delegation in which we have representation in Congress. So 38 congressmen and 2 senators. So every state, at very minimum, if you only have one representative for your whole state, like Alaska, then you will have 3 electoral votes because you have 2 senators. So when you're looking at Texas, for example, the 38 congressional districts, the congressional district that had the most popular vote for president is who should get the electoral vote. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it was originally designed by the congressional districts. So when we have our state convention in the presidential years, we select our presidential elector out of our congressional caucus instead of our Senate district caucus. And so a lot of people don't understand the process, and that's why they feel like they feel disenfranchised and say, "Oh, my vote doesn't count." Your vote actually does count, ladies and gentlemen. It's just that you're so diluted in the system that you don't see the effect of your vote. But when your representative, when your district representative, the voting population in that district goes for one president or the other, those electoral votes should be divided. But like to your point, the states have changed their laws to where it's a winner take all system when it shouldn't be that way. Only because if they stay divided, look at our Congress. Our Congress is literally divided down the middle, type of thing. We'll never be able to determine a presidential winner because our electoral college votes will be split down the middle, type of thing. So it's crazy. But that's yes. Thank you for bringing that up because that is an excellent point you made.
And also, we're supposed to have two different elections, one for president, one for
Vice president.
Mm-hmm.
and
And
so
you know, guys, what bothers me the most is this. It's like the Democrats have black people brainwashed. You know, the Jim Crow laws that was keeping black people from voting back in the day was instituted by the Democratic Party. And black people are now crying about, you know, these elections are not fraud, they're even, but yet and still a couple of years, the last midterm, our organization went and we found all the problems. We found the voting machines tampered with, the printers, we found the chips, we found all of that. And it's being used in these democratic states to make it seem that black people are overwhelmingly voting for the Democrats when it's not. They're cheating so bad. And a lot of black people, like you were saying, Randy, are disenfranchised because they don't see anything positive happening in the black community after these elections. Once, you know, the Democrats get who in they want, they forget about black people. And then they start making excuses on why we need to sit down and wait, but they never can explain why they're continuing to help other people and not help the American citizens who are here now. I want to play this clip of the speech, guys, and we're going to talk about that.
All right, here at the Live Desk, we are tracking for you tonight. Brand new reaction right here to President Trump's primetime address. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill on both sides of the political aisle right here. First up, we start with Ohio Republican Senator Bernie Moreno, a staunch Trump supporter. Calling the speech, he writes here, quote, the most important Oval Office address since the Cuban Missile Crisis. The time for complacency with China is over. Now to the Democratic side tonight. Illinois, U.S. Senator Dick Durbin stating here, quote, tonight's speech from the president is a dangerous attempt to resurrect disproven lies to undermine future elections before a single vote is cast. Our democracy is not guaranteed. It is paramount that Republicans and Democrats join together in support of free and fair elections and condemn any attempts by this president to undermine our democracy before it is too late. Now, in the hours leading up to tonight's speech, Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee reportedly sending a letter to the directors of the CIA, FBI, and more, warning intel officials against misleading Americans on election security. It states in part here, the president is within his authority to declassify intelligence, but if he does so in a way that is intended to mislead Americans about the most basic foundation of our democracy, and that may compromise sources and methods, it is incumbent on you to stand up for the agencies you lead.
Okay, Randy, you up first. What's your thought about that? Because
there's so much.
Let me say this before you get started. Let me say this before you get started. Check this out. Now, here in Illinois, we know that our voters' rolls is full of illegals. Illinois is one of the states that does not want to turn over the voter data, nor do they want to turn over the information regarding welfare and all that, because it's so full with illegals and they've cut money out and really just, you know, stomped on the American people. But the thing that's here, you know, Dick Durbin is talking about how the Republicans and Democrats should be getting together. And that's true. But we know that to be a lie because Dick Durbin been a senator in the state of Illinois for almost 50 years. And look at the city of Chicago. Mm-hmm. Look at the state of Illinois. We have these old politicians sitting in office who never do anything, but yet and still, when they get busted, like Illinois and J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson have been busted using taxpayer dollars to hide and fund illegals here in the country, then the American people need to really wake up and understand that our country is under attack. It's the Democratic Party who are lying and cheating and stealing taxpayers' money to help people so they can stay in control. Your thoughts, Mr. Binky?
Well, the biggest mistake, you brought up Durbin, you brought up Illinois, and they brought up our democracy. We're not a democracy.
Yeah.
And to bring up California, Illinois, New York, that's ran by Democrats, they run them failed states because they're running it as a democracy. That's the problem. If you got a republic, which we're guaranteed, then the government's restrained. But these democratically controlled states like California, New York, and that, they run as a democracy and do whatever they want, whether it's constitutional or not, whether it's right or wrong. They have the majority of both houses and they can do what they want. So,
Randy?
there's your democracy for you. You've got Durbin talking about the threat for this and the effort for that and all this. Well, it's because they don't want to follow the rules. Those California, New York, Illinois, they've got us, they're considered sanctuary states. They're violating their oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. So that when you hear them speak, it's going to affect our democracy, run, get away from them. They're liars. They're not going to do what representatives are supposed to do, and that's for the people.
Randy?
Absolutely. Bink, thank you for that, because once again, you're absolutely right. I got 3 points here. The first one, free and fair elections. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate that term because, number one, elections are not free and they're not fair. And I say that because in most places, you got to pay a fee to get on the ballot. So therefore, what's free about it? Fair, you have money that's lopsided in elections. So one candidate can raise all this money while another candidate can't raise any. Or you have PACs behind one person, you have the grassroots behind another. So what is free and fair about that? You put a cap on how much money a candidate can raise, and you make filing for to run on the ballot, filing for to run an election free. Then you can say it's a free and fair election. That's my first point. The second point I want to make, Dick Durbin, that man wow. He's like another, Chuck Grassley, Mitch McConnell, another dinosaur roaming the halls, and they should be sitting in a museum somewhere. But for him to sit here and talk about, the voting in our democracy, to Steve's point, we're not a democracy. I was just having a discussion this morning on Facebook with a newspaper outlet out of Caldwell County, and how there's an organization called Our Schools, Our Democracy. And I said, please stop telling people that we're a democracy. And they said, well, it's a form. Instead of saying it's a form, say what it is. Because yes, we all know that a constitutional federated republic is a form of a democracy, but call it what it is. We are a republic, not a form of democracy. And people, when they want to confuse people by throwing around the term democracy because it sounds too much like Democrat, and they don't want to say republic because it sounds too much like Republican. Throw that out there. That's number two. Number three, final point. The idea that we have, the idea that the president of the United States declassified information and said, hey, this is what's going on, the American people needs to know. That is transparency to its utmost. And for the Democrats to sit back and say, hey, be aware, you're declassifying information to mislead people. If it's misleading people, then why was it classified to begin with? You try to tell me that information that was declassified to share to give me, I guess you could say, the inside baseball as to what happened or what's going on. Now all of a sudden you want to say that's misleading me? No, that's actually telling me what's really going on. That's telling me the truth. And so I appreciate President Trump for declassifying the information and saying, hey, this is what's going on. Take it for what you will. Do what you do with that information. And Democrats, you need to shame on you for sitting here saying that he's trying to mislead the American people. No, he's being transparent with the American people, and you just don't like it because he has the power to declassify information to expose your punk asses.
Hey, Randy, I'll give you something that was given to me by a very well-versed constitutional attorney. Mm-hmm. When people want to argue about a democracy, you just come back with this. A democracy is like a kingdom. A kingdom is ran by one. Mm-hmm. A democracy is ran by many.
Yes.
A republic is ran by the people to control their representative. and that's
Hmm.
why that's probably one of the best things to try to explain to people the difference between a democracy and a republic.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, well, you know what, gentlemen, the whole fact of the matter is that now that Trump has put it out there, and we see exactly what's happening. Now I understand why Joe Biden allowed the Chinese to have balloons floating over here, all the documents that he had in the garage. They've been selling secrets and they've been selling voter rolls to these people so they can affect the election. And now the Democrats want us to believe that these machines that they're using is foolproof. That's the argument that they're saying. They're saying, "Oh, no, no, these machines are the state of the art." But that's a big lie, because if the computers are supposed to be much more efficient and able to count much more accurately, why does California and Illinois and all these blue states, after the election is over, continue to count ballots for months, couple of months after the election is over? And I think that's what we need to see as the American people, because this is our country, this is our government, and I think the power, like you said, Binky, is belong to the people of this country, not the politicians, not none of that. And these people who we've elected them to represent our best interests have just gone to hell once they got into office and said, we're not worried about the American people. We're gonna do the side deals, we're gonna lie, we're gonna cheat, we're gonna steal. And President Trump has been excellent about exposing them now, and they're running for cover because the jig is up. Just like, with the burn bags. I was, looking at some stuff about the burn bags. Well, Barack Obama and all the Democrats, when they stole that 2020 election, they had to hide the evidence
Hmm.
of what they did. And but this is why I say God intervenes. By some auspicious reason, the bags that should have been burned with all the evidence to prove that they were lying and stealing the elections didn't get burned. And that's what Trump found. And that's why he is speaking on the fact that he got the evidence and he put it out there that our elections have been interfered with, the machines have been tampered with, and we need to fix that problem so that they won't continue, because I just don't think the American people can stand another 4 years or 8 years of what Barack Obama and Joe Biden did to this country, because under the Biden administration, our country went to hell in a handbasket immediately, and he allowed all the illegals to come in. They made side deals with China, the Ukraine. They were stealing money through the Ukraine war. So the Democratic Party is being totally exposed right now, and the American people see the truth. And we need to stand on what President Trump is doing, because he's trying to save this country. I'm gonna play this clip. Go ahead.
Real quick, Dave. What does the AI, digital and electronics have all in common?
Tell us.
They're created by the man, by the people, by the couple.
Hmm.
So anything, especially voting, if it's taken by electronics, it can be manipulated. And they showed where those thumb drives, they're programmed. And I talked to the election board here, and they say they've got those thumb drives come from Texas. And then when they get up here, they get programmed. Well, wait a minute,
Mhm.
So can you program paper ballots?
No,
No.
no.
If like Randy said, you want fair elections, get rid of the electronics, because that can be manipulated. It could also be deleted with a click, one click,
Yes.
and everything's gone. Oh, gee, we have all our evidence is gone now. Well, the votes were already counted by electronically, but now when you go back to check that stuff, oh, it's mysteriously gone. So there's another problem there.
Well, you know what? That's the thing. I just think that we do need to go back to paper ballots, because the paper ballots was counted, and the elections were almost over with. They were over with once those ballots were counted.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about machines, the software can be manipulated, and the Democrats are steady trying to get the American citizen to think, oh no, these machines are so accurate. So when President Trump raided Venezuela and they took Moderno down, they found those same machines, Dominican machines that was used. Yeah, the same machines that he used to cheat with are the same machines that was here in America when they cheated and stole the election in 2020. I'm gonna play this clip, guys, and then we're gonna discuss it.
Congressional Republicans fight over a $95 billion attempt at a third reconciliation package. Left unanswered is how Washington is actually going to pay for it. Rand Paul has been pushing his proposal on X, writing, "You work, pay taxes, and follow the law." Meanwhile, Washington funnels your money to non-citizens through welfare programs riddled with fraud. I introduced the End Welfare for Non-Citizens Act to end this practice. And Washington hands out food stamps, housing aid, and cash to illegal aliens while American families struggle. That ends with my End Welfare for Non-Citizens Act. The Kentucky Senators' End Welfare for Non-Citizens Act would, well, end the allocation of federal funds for welfare benefits for any refugee, asylee, or non-citizen illegally present in the country. In other words, the Republicans' bill would stop taxpayers from bankrolling Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, housing vouchers, college tuitions, and everything in between for illegals. Michael, can you steel man for me the case that, like...
All right, Mr. Mickey, your thoughts on what she just said?
Well, immigration wasn't about giving enticements out, first of all. You know, you got foreigners coming over here giving gas stations and 7-Elevens and convenience stores and stuff like that. They're handed stuff. So that's going to encourage people to want to come over here because there's a gift. We're giving people. At the same time, that gift is getting paid for by you and I, the working man. Mm-hmm. And our taxes keep going up. The more people come here that are expecting a gift handed to them is going to cost more, which is going to cost us more, and we're going to have less and we're giving it to them. So, I mean, immigration wasn't saying, well, we got this for you and that for you, and we'll take care, we'll give you an apartment, we'll put you on food stamps, we'll give you welfare, we'll give you a debit card. That's not what original immigration was all about. Immigration, in the beginning, was about people who wanted to come over here and assimilate and
contribute
and support the American way, the freedoms. I mean, that's why people left England. That's why people left France. You know, we came over here to create a new country. And no, it wasn't stolen. It was paid for bit by bit by bit. But the people that fought in the Revolutionary War, white and black, fought for freedom. And it wasn't about giving things to people to come over here. It was those people wanted what we had.
Randy?
To Steve's point, a lot of people tend to forget or just don't know history enough to realize that, yes, when people migrated to the United States or back then to the colonies, there were all sorts of colors. they came from all over Europe, you know, in Asia and you know, just all over. And oh, by the way, they tend to forget also that Native Americans helped the migrants get so assimilated to the country, and that's how we got Thanksgiving and all of that good stuff. And they had treaties and they had plans, and they said, hey, you get this land, you build it up and everything else, we'll move over this way because we trying to figure out something over here real quick. So y'all go ahead and take that. They forget all that. But anyway, you know, that's a little fun fact there for you. But to the other point, when we're talking about, you know, the about illegal immigrants, illegals, period. And I can't even I hate to say illegal immigrant because if you're illegal, you're not an immigrant.
No.
So
you're a criminal.
You're an illegal criminal in the country.
Right.
So, exactly. So when we're talking about illegals getting benefits, it's a slap in the face to the American people. It's a slap in the face to the taxpayer. And for us to sit here and say, wow, it must be nice that you got an apartment or a house, a car, envelope full of money. Because I literally seen this in the airport. You know, as they was coming off the plane, a guy in a black suit was handing out envelopes to these people. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. But it's a slap in the face to us. But on top of that, if you or we walk into, say, the Small Business Administration office at the local chapter or local office and say, hey, I would like to, get a grant, not a loan, a grant to get me in a 7-Eleven or to start a franchise of some sort. You got to fill out all this paperwork. You got to qualify. You got to get a credit score. You got to get a credit check. You got to do all this stuff, but let, Habib, whoever, Al Saeed and all them come over and say, hey, welcome. Here you go. Here's the keys. Let us know how you're doing in 2 years. That's what's going to, it's like, what are we doing here? It should be the other way around. If anything.
Yes.
But this is the society that we allow. And so, hey, until then, it is what it is.
And you are correct, Randy, because when Black business owners go to the SBA, there's all sorts of stringent rules so they have to jump through in order to get the grants or in order to get the loans. But we can see that that's a total lie, because how can you come over here and you be here a month or so and you open up a gas station?
Exactly.
You can't even speak the language of America, but they teach you how to count and that you can get paid and all of these things. And this is why I say to the Black community across this country, this is a time for us to stand firm against what is happening that the Democrats have done. The first place that all the illegals come to, Randy, is right here in the Black community, and they give them the loans. They don't give the Black people. They help them open up the gas stations. They help them open up the convenience stores.
Yes.
All of this. And Black people need to wake the hell up, because how is it that we paying taxes in this country that the 15th Amendment said, now y'all citizens, y'all got to pay taxes, and we're not receiving the benefits for ourselves and for our community to build generational wealth by having everybody else, after you say that now you don't qualify to have a business, and now you bring in all these other people who can't even speak English and put them in the Black community and give them the stores, the houses, and give them all of that, and then sit around and expect for Black people to continue to vote for their own demise by following the Democratic Party. Go ahead, Randy.
I want to add, because you said something there. They come over from wherever. The Social Security number is a unique number identifying system to the American people. No Chinese person, no Indian, no African or whatever, they don't have Social Security numbers. So how is it possible, if your Social Security number is tied to your credit score and all that good stuff that we have here in the United States, how is it possible that a person comes over here and they apply for something and they have an A+ credit score to get this stuff? You don't even have a Social Security number. So how is it? Help me understand. You know what they do? They go into the system. They say, okay, welcome to America. Boom, 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 boom. What's your name? Where you living at? You just give me an address. It doesn't matter. And then they give them a alien number, a legal resident alien number, and that serves as their Social Security number. Guess what? That legal alien number is clean. So yes, they're going to automatically start off with an 800 credit score. so that's how they qualify for these things. It is a travesty. It is criminal how the United States government allows this to happen and screws over the American taxpayer to allow us to stay in poverty while others come over and get rich. It is crazy to me.
Mr. Binky?
Well, to what Randy's saying about this credit score stuff, if I'm not out putting myself in debt to create a credit score,
that part,
then I can't get credit because I don't have nothing for them to give me a score on.
Exactly.
So if people, as Randy said, can come over here and automatically get credit, yeah, that's a slap in the face to everybody. But myself, I could care less about a credit score.
Me too.
To have a credit score, you got to be in debt.
Yes. And that's the whole thing about the credit system here. Most of the times when I was coming up and I was buying things cash, I didn't have a lot of credit because I paid for everything. And so I had
for it.
Right. And so I had zero debt. So when I did go to ask for some credit, the first thing they said was like, oh, well, you never taken out a lot of loans. You don't have debt. So we'll deny what you want because you're not in debt. And I,
or no, you don't have a credit history. Well,
right, exactly.
you use cash for everything, so you don't have a credit history, so you're denied because we don't know whether you can pay it back or not. Although
Exactly.
obviously you got through life paying for everything, but we don't know whether or not you can actually pay back something because you have no credit history.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, the system is a sham.
You're
It's a sham.
You're not in debt enough to go in debt even deeper.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
But you know what? These are all the
Piss me
rules.
off.
These are definitely to American people and patriots across this country. We've experienced it. These are the rules that the government set up for the taxpayers.
Yep.
We're paying their salary. They're creating rules and regulations to keep us from moving forward, to create the generational wealth, to start the businesses. And yet here we are, 2026, especially in the Black community. The Black community is run down. No economics. The schools are bad. We don't own anything. Excuse me. Everybody is in our community getting rich, and yet and still we got all these Black political leaders who are sitting here now pointing the finger and saying, oh, well, we should be trying to help other people. We should be trying to help illegals. But damn, what about helping the people of this country? What to the Black politicians? Why have you not went to Black folks and helped them create businesses in their own communities? Why is it that you've been silent? You haven't said a damn word about the illegals being here because you helped brought them here, and you are not pushing for the American people to be business owners, especially Black people in their own community, to create generational wealth for their children. Mr. Binky?
To what you're saying here, why are we worried about our government making our lives better? Why is it so hard for us to make our own lives better? It's because of them.
Mm-hmm.
As Randy said, we've got this rule, that rule, the other rule, a permit, a license. You got this rule, you got that rule. Doesn't that in itself tells you government is controlling everything that we do in every aspect of our life to even be able to go out and be our own entrepreneur now. In order to do that, Randy, you brought up going and getting a grant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you go back 40 years, people were creating their 40 years plus. People created their own businesses basically out of their own pocket, and they made their business grow because they weren't regulated, licensed, have to have a permit. Then you got the fire department coming in and giving and the code violations.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yep.
Here we are. We're enstrapped by a government that's controlling what we do with our lives. This has got to stop. This has got to change. If you do something wrong with your business, that's what a court's about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If I do somebody wrong, I go to court. Okay? And I have a jury decide, oh, yes, he did. No, he didn't. But we don't work on that basis now. We've got government saying, well, we've got to follow this rule so that don't happen. Well, how do you know it was going to happen? Well, we're going to make sure it don't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what, guys? The sad thing of it is, just like what Rand Paul is doing with this new law, and that's to get people that are not part of this country who are using Social Security, because the Democrats allowed them to use programs that we have, that the American taxpayers has paid into, and now they're giving the money freely away to illegals, and now they're talking about how, well, Social Security is about to run out.
Amen.
Well, if we wasn't giving it to people who are not citizens in this country, we wouldn't have to worry about that. So what about the taxpayer dollars that are still being funneled into these programs for our future when we get old, when we retire? These programs should be intact and should be only used by American citizens. And so I support President Trump 100% when he says we have to get them off welfare. We have to get them off the voters' roll. We have to remove them out of this country because they are a detriment to the country. And it's costing who? It's not costing Adam Schiff or all the Democrats who are making these six figures, who are getting side deals with millions of dollars, like Barack Obama is probably one of the richest presidents ever. He stole millions and trillions of dollars. He used so many schemes, like the $9 billion he gave to Iran, and then was sucking the money back out because they supposed to have been friends. It's all this fraud and abuse that the Democratic Party is using. And to the American people, it's against us.
Yep.
It's not against other countries. It's against the American citizen. I'm going to play this. Go ahead, Randy.
To that point about the Social Security, real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to keep in mind, too. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when the Social Security age was 55.
Yes.
I remember that, just a little kid growing up. Then my grandparents, they were like excited, that they can now draw Social Security and they can retire and enjoy their family. Now the retirement age, I think, is what, 67 and a half or something?
Yes.
70, so they intentionally increase the age to make you work longer so you can not only continue to pay taxes into a system that you're not going to live long enough to enjoy yourself, but they also increase the age so those that do make it, you still got to wait because most corporations, most businesses, you're forced to retire at 50, 60 years old. So now you got to wait an extra set of years.
I got you, man.
And then boom, you never get to enjoy it in the first place. So it's a sham, ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
It's
Mr. Binky.
Yeah, to what Randy's saying, to add on to that, the reason they keep raising the age is because there's lesser and lesser people contributing into the Social Security.
Yeah, that's
so this I'm bringing this up because it's true. All this, unions have done this. Technology has done this. AI is going to do this. It's going to have less people working, putting into a system. So if they want this Social Security system, which was unconstitutional but made constitutional by the Supreme Court, if they want this to work, then they've got to stop and make it easier for people to have jobs, to contribute it back into it. That's going to stop this insolvency problem that they keep talking about.
And guys, you know what? It's a shame that we see the Democratic Party study trying to trick the American people and make them think that, there's no cheating and the voters' rolls are safe. But I'm going to play this clip and I want your thoughts on it after this.
Breaking just a moment ago, New Jersey's Democratic governor, Mickey Sherrill, says that some 6,000 non-U.S. citizens were actually registered to vote in the state's motor vehicle system. Eric Shawn has some breaking details right here in the New York newsroom for us. Eric, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Jillian, it turns out that thousands of non-citizens were added to New Jersey's voter rolls, and some even voted because of a computer glitch. But now the state says it's trying to clean that up. New Jersey's governor, Mickey Sherrill, says that a software error in the state's motor vehicle system led to about 6,600 people who are not citizens being registered as Garden State voters when they applied for a driver's license. She says even though the applicants answered no on the license and also state ID card application forms, well, the computer registered yes as citizens. She says it all happened under the previous administration of Democratic Governor Phil Murphy, and she's ordered the illegal voters be removed from the rolls.
It's unacceptable that the vendor released software with such a glaring error. It's unacceptable that the MVC took a year to get this issue fixed. And it's unacceptable that no one in the previous administration brought this to light, demanded accountability, or took action when it happened years ago.
Well, the investigation says it found less than 400 of those who were improperly registered actually did vote. And of those 400, they were registered in all the parties. There were Democrats, Republicans, and unaffiliated voters. They were registered over a one-year period from June 2023 to 24, and elections held during that time, well, they included the state legislature, municipal contests, school board elections in 2023, as well as in 2024, the U.S. Senate, congressional races, and the presidential election, which Kamala Harris won by more than 250,000 votes. And Cheryl herself was elected as governor last year, and she won by nearly 500,000 votes. Jillian, back to you.
It's just weird, Eric, because I never heard of anything going wrong at the DMV before. Thanks.
All right, Randy, you up. What you think about that?
It should be alarming to the American people that a Democrat of all people came out and admitted that, although she blamed her predecessor, but still, she still came out and admitted that, hey, we do have illegals, on the voter rolls, and they are voting. So, and to the tune of 600,000 people. Now, I'm gonna debunk an argument for some people. They'll say, well, that's not enough to sway an election. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna tell you right now, voter fraud anywhere is a threat to election integrity everywhere. So it doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3, or 600. If they're voting and they're not supposed to be voting, that disenfranchises the actual person that can vote or should be voting. So miss me with that argument right there. But the other point, the idea that you could go in the DMV and you get a license or driver's license or whatever else, and then it says, oh, you can vote, and you know that, and you know you're not supposed to be voting, and you go vote. Guess where your ass should be at? In jail.
Yes, right.
And they should go. They should look at that roster because they know. Because trust, I can pull it up, and they would say, oh, this person voted, and they're a legal resident. This is their address. Go get them. Period. It's an open and shut case. There's no argument. There's no defense. You voted. You knew you weren't supposed to vote. Have a nice life in jail.
Mr. Binky?
Yeah. Well, again, electronic. Had a glitch. That's all it takes. Problem solved. Now let's keep voting electronically. It's just everybody talks that they found a problem, but they never come up with a solution. Mm-hmm. And when somebody does come up with a solution, oh, they're racist, and that's bringing back Jim Crow laws and prohibition and poll taxes and blah blah blah. Jesus Christ, give me a break.
and you know what? That's the whole thing that the Democratic Party has been using to trick black people and make black people that the Republicans are trying to bring back Jim Crow because they want fair and equitable elections. The Democrats continue to say, well, the Republicans, they want to cheat, but yet and still here, that's what we just saw, another Democrat saying, well, they did cheat. They did have people on the rolls, and especially black people. They're targeting our community for our votes, because if you don't vote, as long as you're on the voters' roll, they can manipulate the machines to show that you voted.
Yep.
It's just like the midterms. The last time the midterms came, the numbers in Chicago was dismal. And black people didn't come out of those wars to vote. But yet and still, you saw overwhelming numbers in these black communities as to where it seemed as though black people was coming out, standing in line, voting forever. And I went around the city to the polling places, and there was not black people who were lining up to vote, but yet they're using their names, their voters' data to vote for them, and that's how they're still in the elections. Go ahead, Randy.
That should be a separate system. If you go to register to vote, that's one system all by itself, not tied to your driver's license, not tied to anything in the system that's identifiable to you, your address or anything like that. It should be two separate systems. That way, if you go to vote, you have to show your voter registration card, just like you would go show your ID, driver's license, or do anything else, or whatever that case is. It should be the same. It should be the same parameters for that. That way, when a person goes to get a driver's license, they're not automatically registered to vote when they know they have no intentions on ever voting. Because you have people like that say, I would never vote. I don't believe in the system, so I'm not going to do it. So they're on the voter roll automatically. And people were identified that as working these elections, because some of these people work elections for years, and they know the people in their community. They're like, oh, this person ain't gonna go vote, so you can use his name and cast a ballot under his name. he ain't gonna know because he's not. They don't.
Exactly.
So that you're absolutely right to that point, because I actually seen that happen as well, and here in Texas at that. So yes, it should be the two should be disjointed, and it should be two separate systems. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. Well, if we didn't have the Democratic Party and we didn't have a failed legislator, and we had people that actually stayed and followed the law, enforced the laws of immigration and stuff, we wouldn't even need an identification to go vote. If we did have secure borders, if we did have real honest politicians upholding their oaths, doing their job, and keeping people illegally out of here, you wouldn't need to have to worry about an ID.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what, guys, that's true, but
this is my voter registration card right here, and it should be separate from my driver's license. So when I go to vote, I should be able to just hand the person this information that says, "Here's your voter ID number," and they pull you up in the system, and they verify that and say, "Okay, thank you. Here's your ballot. Have a nice day. Good luck," and all that, and get your little damn sticker and go about your business. That's how it should be, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know why it's not like that now, but this is where we at, and this is why we're in this mess.
Well, the midterms are coming up, and I'm actually, I'm appealing to Black voters right now and say we have to stand behind what the president is doing, because we can see the fraud. We can see how our communities have been used as a money ground for everybody that comes here. We already know that they're using our names and our numbers, and they're giving our Social Security numbers to illegals. Because in Chicago, I was out in the community once, and there was a guy that was a contractor. He had to go down and argue with the state because all the workers that he had, which were Black workers, their Social Security numbers had been given to illegals, and they was working under their numbers and causing them problems. So the Democrats have really, really screwed this country up by the lies, the cheating, the stealing, the fraud, but yet they come to us as if they are honest people. I have not seen any honest politician, but I've never seen a Democratic politician who have tried to do their job on what they were elected to do. I'm going to play this clip, guys, and we're going to have to get out of here.
Shell new report is exposing elections fraud in the state of California. New videos showing some of the homeless population being bribed with cash and drugs in exchange for registering to vote and signing election petitions. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joins us in this group who took this video, Jeff. They shared over 24 times. Appears to show cash exchange for ballot signatures and registration forms. Tell us more.
So in the nearly half-hour video, independent journalist James O'Keefe and his team are seen posing undercover on Skid Row in Los Angeles, all in an effort to expose election fraud, including what appears to be people being encouraged to use fake addresses to sign petitions and register to vote. From fake addresses to bribes, independent journalist James O'Keefe and his team recently went undercover along LA's Skid Row to expose election fraud in California.
After 9, they're going to give you additional one more sign. After that one more, you get $3.
But what is that petition for?
What's the petition for?
We're getting $3.
I do not know.
O'Keefe says in the nearly half-hour video, they captured 28 times state non-governmental employees encouraged the homeless to use fake addresses in order to sign petitions and register to vote.
Do I put it in my address? Yeah, just put up. You live on Pinocchio Lane? Oh, you can just take it.
Oh, good.
In this video, we captured it 28 times over the course of a few days. That means it's happening tens, if not hundreds of thousands of times.
On hidden cameras, petitioners admitting they're paid between $7 and $10 per signature, but it is a federal crime to provide false information on a voter registration form or offer payment.
Now, because you haven't registered, I need to register you so I can get paid too. I'm paying you guys, I need to get paid. Come on.
The video also highlighting the LA Homeless Services Authority, who distributes federal money to Weingart Center, a homeless service in LA. A LASA employee being caught on camera directing people to where fraudulent petitioners were located and coaching plausible deniability.
Go to Skid Row and see if there's people out there with clipboards. With patient ignorance is no excuse for the law. But a lot of times I have to say I didn't know. I had no idea.
In response to the reporting, state leaders, including the first assistant U.S. attorney for the Central District of California, acknowledging what's being shown, writing on X, quote, "I want to assure the public that this DOJ, under the leadership of Attorney General Pam Bondi, will aggressively pursue anyone and everyone involved in violating federal election laws." The LA District Attorney's Office also responding to O'Keefe. Our office received your complaint and will open a file for preliminary review. Plus, Governor Gavin Newsom, his office writing, quote, "Anyone caught engaging in this activity should be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law."
And I think that's why Newsom is putting out the statement he's putting out. I think because he knows he's going to have to do something on this.
Now, this investigation comes as the state of California is already being looked into by the Trump administration surrounding alleged hospice and home health care fraud. Independent journalist Nick Shirley also recently releasing a video claiming to have found over $170 million in state fraud. Reporting for the National News Desk, I'm Jeff Harris.
Your thoughts, Randy. It just proves to the American people and patriots across this country. What we just saw is what's happening in all the Democratic states in America. They're lying, cheating. But your thoughts, Randy. Tell me what you think about that.
You know what, Pastor? I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna be an unpopular statement. This is not just in blue states. This is across the United States. This is no matter what state you're in. This is happening in some little town, some big city across the United States. And I'm not surprised, because that's what I said. No, they're not. They're not going to do anything. They're going to look into it. That's what they're looking into. You've seen it. what else you need to see? You already saw. You got the information. Now they say, oh, we finna go out and we finna actually arrest these people. Thinking we got the names, we got their location. We finna go out there and do a sweep right now and put them in jail. Then I have trust in the system. Then I'm like, okay, cool. But we're going to investigate. You're not investigating the damn thing. Stop lying. You're not doing anything about it. And I want to see a follow up to this. James O'Keefe, love the guy. Follow him for years. I want them to go back out there and do a follow up to this in a few months and say, okay, hey, where's this investigation that y'all said y'all was going to do? Take me down to the prison so I can physically see that these folks are actually sitting in the jail cell. I want to see that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not holding your electeds accountable to that level of fidelity, then hey, you don't really care about what's going on out there in the world. So,
Mr. Binky,
yeah, just what Randy's saying. They do a lot of talking about finding this and finding that. Nick Shirley with all the fraud, and they might go after some little guy that was involved with the deal. But I want the big guys. I want Tim Walz and all these governors and mayors and stuff that knew about this and approved all this. And there's even people in Washington that are implicated in it too. I want to see these people put on the stand, tried, and justice served. We know the problems, we just don't fix them.
Mm-hmm. And that's so correct too. Also, just think about this. And I was watching what's her name, Caroline Leavitt, who's the secretary speaking on the president's behalf. She was asked by a reporter during the meeting. We can see, and this is what you say, Mr. Binky, we can see all this fraud and stuff going on, but why is it, and when will it happen? When will they start arresting these people? Your thoughts, Bink?
Well, yeah, I can only put it this way. The criminals are protecting the criminals. I mean, I'm going to go all the way back. Everything that goes on here that's costing the American people, okay? Wars are unconstitutionally enacted today. Iran is costing us $1 billion a day. Then we're going to go back, just like we did in Vietnam and Iraq and all these other places. we're going to pay them to rebuild their cities that we blew up.
Mhm.
So this is just a revolving door that's on our backs here and in our wallets. Illegal immigration, handing out grants to people who don't come over here other than getting a grant. It's just all our money, all our taxes are being fraudulently used for things that it shouldn't be done. So again, you know, if we don't hold our government accountable, we don't prosecute people that are doing wrong, they're just going to continue to do wrong. But by George, don't you forget to pay your child support. Don't forget to go get your driver's license so you can drive a car. Don't forget to pay your property taxes, because we're going to come after you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Randy, your thoughts?
You know, taxation is theft. Period. The end. And I talked about this. I wrote an article a few weeks ago now about abolishing the 16th Amendment. If we as United States, as taxpaying citizens, if you are an American citizen, let me put it like that. If you are an American citizen and you're sending 1 cent to the U.S. government for the compensation, not the income. And here's the distinguishing part, ladies and gentlemen. If you are working, you are being compensated. It's not income. So they twist the terminology and the vocabulary to make you think that you are obligated to do something for the American people or for the government, and say, oh, that's income. You know, you got to give us a portion of that. You know, you got to be a good little citizen. And it's like, no, this is compensation. I'm giving my time, my energy, and my body so I can make a living. We are in a bartering system. I am working out a contract with another entity to do something for them in exchange for a monetary value. So that is compensation. It's not income, ladies and gentlemen. And we need to like start explaining that to our elected officials to change the laws to reflect that. Income, if you want to define income, I go play the lottery. I win on the jackpot. Fine, that's income, because there's no compensation, there's no contract there. If I go and say I found $3 laying on the side of the street, fine, that's income. But if I am putting in sweat equity into something, that is compensation. It is not income. And so that's what we need. And if we can get taxed so much to where we can send money overseas and put money into all these fraudulent programs, then you are being overtaxed, ladies and gentlemen. Period. The end.
I'm gonna play the script right quick, and then we're gonna respond and get out of here.
Hey, Randy, they do know.
Regarding the president's speech tonight, he's been in office over 540 days now. If what he says is tonight is backed up by evidence, why hasn't anyone been charged?
Well, he hasn't revealed it yet. He hasn't declassified the documents yet, and you will see what he says tonight, and then we'll move forward appropriately from there.
Tonight from the Justice Department?
I don't speak on behalf of the Justice Department, Caitlin, you know that. Rachel.
By evidence, will there be charges?
You'll have to ask the Justice Department. I don't charge people. I just speak on behalf of the president.
All right, Binky, your thoughts, your last words, and we got to get out of here.
Again, you know, a blind squirrel will find a nut eventually. You know, regardless if it's CNN or Fox or whoever, somebody's going to hit on something so they get a reaction. Okay. That's all we get is a reaction. Oh, we got the fraud over here. We got the voting over there. It's a shambles. It's a okay. I'm 100% with Randy. Where's the act? Where's the prosecution? So, and one thing I seen here that I was very happy to finally see. I seen a free people stand up to a tyrannical city council. This was over a data center. A lady got up to talk, and the city council decided they were going to tell her she can't talk. And as usual, they were sending the police over there to remove her. The people that went there to protest this data center all started standing up and going around the lady speaking. My friends, that's what freedom is about. Standing up peacefully against a government, whether it's a city a county, a state, or federal, and telling them, no, you're not stopping us. That is what Americanism, patriotism, and people standing up against tyranny is about.
Randy, your last words. We got to get out of here.
I just want to say thank you all for the great discussion today. Pastor, you know how to rile me up on days. I haven't got my blood pressure up like that in a while, and I appreciate it. But folks, y'all can go pick up my book, Polarizing America, out there. If you want to check out my articles on Substack at RPURHAM at RPerm on Substack or under Perm and Associates. And I will catch you all when I catch you.
Guys, I want to thank y'all for being on the show, and we're going to continue to educate and open the eyes of the American people by watching Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be seeing you Friday if we do. If we don't, we'll see each other next week. Blessings to you both. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in, and I ask that you share it around to others who might need to see and hear the truth. These are my last words. If the American people don't stand up for righteousness, if the citizens in this country continue to watch the Democratic Party and those rhino Republicans open our borders and give thousands and trillions and millions of dollars to people who have never invested into America, it is high time that we quit using democracy as a way to make especially Black people think, well, you're taking my democracy away. What is democracy? We live in a republic country, and that's what it should be. And so what I'm saying to us as citizens in this country, let us be vigilant. Let us start to ask the questions. Let us start to hold our elected officials accountable, because they're the ones who are committing the fraud. They're getting paid off our dollars. They're opening doors for everybody else. And the message to Black citizens, we pay taxes. 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment was created for us. We need to be standing on Black politicians who we've elected, who don't do nothing for the Black community, but they're continuing to fight for the illegals as if Black people don't exist. And yet and still, when come election time, they come to the Black community to vote so that they can get back in office and continue to destroy the Black community and the American way of life. I say we support President Trump so that we can make this country great again. God bless you. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week.